Welcome to lecture 23. Lecture 22 ended up with a little bit of problems at the end because my camera automatically turned off. I've had a problem with it ever since, actually. I've been trying to solve the problem, and so I'm back on the show now, and I hope to continue making some more lectures. I've also been very busy. I've written actually 4 books I've got into print since I last made a lecture, and I'll show you those probably in the next lecture because I haven't got them in front of me at the moment. But you can find me now on a website named wilddiscoveries.com. That is, it will be down in the description, wilddiscoveries.com. That's the nest there. And you can find me there, and I've got over 20 books there to sell. So if you're interested in taking the subject further in more depth, you're very welcome to browse the bookshop there. So I'm going to finish up with what I was doing last lecture at the end, before I got cut off, and I'm going to then go on to the subject of the coronavirus, which a lot of people are worried about. So I've got just a normal cough. That's not the coronavirus, thank God. So let us rub this off. I was finishing off just a very simple gematria on showing the connection between Hebrew and English. In fact, I can do that with other languages as well. And if you look at my slideshow on pi and the one on phi, you'll see how Greek can connect between English and Hebrew. So I put down, in Hebrew we have the phrase Safat Ivrit, the Hebrew language. Safat is spelled, I write it in block letters, Safat Ivrit, Safat Ivri actually, Safat Ivri. So Safat Ivri is in placement values 21, 17, 22, 16, 2, 20 and 10. And if I work that out, I'll get 2, 8, 10, 18, okay, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I get 108. And it's called Lashon HaKodesh, the Holy Tongue. And in Hebrew that would be Lamed Lashon HaKodesh. I think it's got a vav in it, HaKodesh. Sometimes with, sometimes without. That will be 12, 21, 6, 14, 5, 19, 6, 4 and 21. Add those together, I will get 10, 25, 29, 30, 38. Carry 3. And they've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got 108 in that. So we have Safat Ivri, the Hebrew language, equals Lashon HaKodesh, which is the normal way that people talk about Hebrew as Lashon HaKodesh, the Holy Tongue. And the letter Hey is the sort of pointing about the definitive article that is the Holy Tongue. We can do the same thing in English, only that we don't have the definite article in it. We can do that, and I've tried it in 5 other languages. So I've tried it in French, Spanish. I don't think I tried Greek. I think I tried German. They're in my book at the end, in the appendix of The End of Evil, and I wrote down English language, and Holy Tongue. And if you work those out, I'll let you have a go. It's 142 in the placement value. And this is also 142 in the placement value. And it doesn't work for any of the other 5 languages that I tried. I haven't tried all the languages in the world. But it does show that there's something special about English as well as Hebrew. Hebrew understand the Old Testament, the Torah, the Hebrew Bible is in Hebrew. And so we expect Hebrew to be a special language. But English, that's rather strange. As I've spoke to you before, that English should have all these special connections must mean that there's something about English that is revealing in the modern age, because we don't have English going back that far. In fact, the letter J is pretty new. I think it's about 500 years since J has been with us, the letter J. So it's a fairly recent language, and over the years it's developed. We've had Chaucer language. If you ever learned Chaucer's books, the Pardoner's Tale or the Canterbury Tales, you find a completely different English. And even later than that, we've got Shakespeare, which also a lot of the words there we just don't have in modern English, and the spellings are different. So English today is a modern language, and it's all the way around the world, mainly due to the internet. So let's move on to the coronavirus. Let's see what those words have got to tell us. It's now called COVID-19 or COVID-19. In Hebrew, the word COVID is honor. I give no honor to such a virus, but it's been called COVID-19. So we'll look at corona, because there are quite a few coronaviruses. SARS was one of them. Coronavirus seems to be written as one word, but the word corona in placement value is 66. Okay, just to remind you, that's 3, 15, 18, 15, 14 and 1. The placement value A is 1 to Z is 26. And a pandemic is also 66. That's a bit scary. So all the coronas have the potential of being a pandemic. It's not the pandemic, thank God. That would seem to imply that it would be the worst one ever. In Hebrew, well, first of all, let's look up pandemic by itself. Of course, if I take the A away, I'm going to be left with one less. So a pandemic equals 65. And in Hebrew, we have the word makkah for plague. In the 10 plagues in Egypt that God smote the Egyptians, they are called makot, the makot plagues. But the single is makkah or maket, and that's written mem, chaf, hey. And using normal values, where mem is 40, chaf is 20, and hey is 5, I get 65, which is the same as that. So that's the normal value, which is the one that's used most in Hebrew. Now, it started at Wuhan in China, and Wuhan is a very big town. It's a population of some 11 million, I believe. It's a terrible thing that so many people should be shut up in the city, and it's had a devastating effect there. So the word Wuhan, I'll write it down here, Wuhan, not exactly how to pronounce it, Wuhan virus, I can call it the Wuhan coronavirus, it doesn't really matter, you'll see why in a minute. This is 67, and this is 66, giving you 133, and it's also been called the killer virus, and that is 67, and that's 66, equal 133. So we see a connection between this virus and the place in which it originated. Now, we're going to get a little bit more complicated now, using some other codes. So the next code we're going to do is a threesome. And we're going to write the word corona. The word corona is C-O-R-O-N-A. And we're going to give it the placement value, which we know is 66. And we're going to give it the large value, which is 397. Do look back if you're not sure what it means. I'll explain just briefly that this is the third letter. It's this placement value of 3. And the word 3 equals 56. Because that's 28, 18, 5 and 5. Using the placement value, 3 is 56. So C becomes 56. O is 15, and the word 15 equals 65. R is 18, and the word 18 equals 73, etc. And you'll get 397. And the last one is the normal value, where C is 3, O is 60. This is like the decimal values going up. You get to I is 9, J is 10, K is 20, L is 13. You get to S is 100, and it goes on to 200, 300. So in that form, we get 437. That's the normal values. And if I add those together, you can see I'm going to get 12, and 8 is 20, and I've got 900. All right, 900. That is called. I call the, when I add the placement value to the large value, I've called that the whole value. That's what was the first time I discovered that first. Before I started, I borrowed that. Didn't discover that one. I borrowed that from Hebrew and Greek. That one I discovered. Hadn't seen anybody else using it. And then I discovered I could add them together. You have to look at earlier lectures, like in lecture 2 or 3, and you'll see how that works out. And that's the normal value. Put them together and I get 900. If we now take a virus, and we're going to use the normal value, that's 1, 400, 9, 90, 300, and 100. And you'll find that a virus equals 900. So we have a connection between corona and virus. Okay, now let's go to COVID. Put that down there. Maybe I'll change it a little different colour now. See if this one works. COVID. There we go. COVID-19. COVID has a placement value of 53 PD. Now, if I now add 19, COVID-19, I will get 72. What is the shape of the coronavirus? You look at all the pictures on it. It is a sphere, and it's got all these little spikes coming out of them, the protein spikes coming out from them. And it's because of these spikes coming all the way around that they've called it the corona light. The sun has got this light coming around it, so it's called the coronavirus. But its shape is a sphere. And a sphere has a placement value, 1 plus 71, and that gives you 72. So we can see the connection between the COVID and the shape of which it takes on. Now, that's not the only one that connects to that shape. I have another one. Well, yes, the next one. Okay, so how are we connected to a shape again? I like this one. Let's rub this off. Now, COVID has a large value of 388. That's the large value. Okay, C is 56, O is 65. These are the large values. O is 15, 15 equals 65. Okay, so the large value is 388. Now you'll notice, no, that's right. Okay, so now we take sphere. Sphere has a large value of 388. Okay, they're exactly the same system, both large values, and that is 388 and that is 388. So again, we've got a second connection between the word COVID and the sphere. Okay, now, and this one I could have given a bit earlier because it's a little bit out of order, but this one shows another connection to a pandemic. COVID-19, and this time we're going to write 19 as the words. So COVID-19, that was 53, 19 is 86, I get 139 in the placement value. Now we had that pandemic equals 65. So what does 65 equal? 65 equals 139. So there is a an extended link. It's not a direct link, but I would call this, what I call this is the soul value of this, called the body value, and this becomes like the external, and this goes just a little bit more deeper, and we see what the value of the value is, and I call that soul more deeper value, and so they have the same as COVID-19. Okay, now just a little bit more. Now, people are asking, well, what's the cure for this disease? That's a very good question. I read years ago a little booklet on garlic, and it talked about the plague, the Black Death in London. I think it was about 1666. And they sent 2 convicts to collect up the dead bodies. These people were probably going to be put to death anyway, so they sent them out to collect the dead bodies. And after a while, they realised that these 2 convicts weren't getting the disease. They were fine. So they asked them that they told them, if you tell us your secret, we'll let you go free. And they said that they ate 2 cloves of garlic every day. So I'm not saying that that's going to work for this particular virus, but no harm. But let's have a look, see if there's any connection to it. Just going to look down if I showed. Yeah, no, it's not on here. In my book, my new book called Science Beyond Science, I showed the connection between vitamin A and the retina, showing a connection was why vitamin A is good for you. I haven't developed that yet, but that's probably going to be another book in the near future, one on health. I had written an article in a homeopathic magazine a few years ago in America, and showing how homeopathy was connected to, in gematria terms, to healing. But more on that I can talk on another lecture. So we have garlic. Garlic has a normal value of 140. That's a normal value. That's 7, 1, 90, 30, 9 and 3. You'll find that is 140. If we now find the placement value of deadly virus, right, deadly virus is 140. That's the placement value. So we see there's a connection between garlic and deadly virus, like a competition. Again, if we take garlic and we take the placement value now, it's 50. And if we take the word 50, finding its soul value, we'll see that that's 66, which is a pandemic. So, and it's also corona. So we see another connection between garlic through its soul value to corona. Now I must say that one has to eat raw garlic. Cooking it takes away the effect, the special effect of garlic. You can find these capsules with garlic in it, but it has to be raw garlic. I'm taking it at the moment for my cough. I've always been a fan of garlic, and hopefully it will get rid of my cough, but it might help with the corona. There is one other thing, it's vitamin A, which also is very good for the immune system, because in the end of the day, we've got nothing to get rid of garlics in the medical, get rid of garlic, we just chuck you out of the house. We've got nothing to get rid of viruses. We've got antibiotics for bacteria, but not for viruses. We can only vaccinate people against viruses. So what a person needs to do is to increase their immune system, and good eating and exercise, things like that, to increase one's immune system will help. So I don't think this is an unbeatable virus. It's something which just needs to be, one has to get to one's pinnacle of health. So, which I'm not at the moment, I have to get there. So we're going to look at vitamin A. Vitamin A, that's 89 is vitamin, and we're going to add 1 on for the A, because it's 1. That will give me, no it's not, did the wrong one, that's 88, looking at the answer. So that gives me 89. And virus, that's placement value, virus equals 89. So we have an equivalent. What I mean by that is that numbers that, words or phrases that equal each other can either be similar or they can be in contention with each other. So it wouldn't be logical to think, you have to take the context. You wouldn't be logical to think that if you take vitamin A you're going to feed a virus. You're going to help your immune system by taking vitamin A, and you can help your eyesight. So these things are good for the body. So these things are in contestant against each other, and that's an important idea, because you'll find, for example, in Jewish festivals, we have the festival of Hanukkah, and it's about the victory of the Jewish people in the time of the Second Temple over the Greeks, the Greek Assyrians. And the king of the Greek Assyrians at the time was Antiochus Epiphanes, and he was a very, very, very cruel person, very, very sadistic. And he has a gematria, Antiochus has a gematria of 110, and the leader of the fighting, the guerrilla warfare that was going on amongst the Hebrews, it started off with Mattathias, who was the father of 5 sons. The eldest son was Judah the Maccabee, and Judah the Maccabee is 110. So we get this connection between Judah Maccabee is 110 and Antiochus is 110, where the two things conflict. We can do that with Hitler as well, because Adolf Hitler is also 110, and maybe he was a reincarnation of Antiochus, and the victory was of course a collective victory, but the leading person in that was the President of the United States of America at the time, because without America coming into the war, I think Britain would have probably lost. So we have a president equaling 110. Okay, so that's just showing you opposites. Where are we up to? Now we're going to have another look at COVID. This is a little bit more complicated, so bear with me in this one, and it's a little bit more deeper. I could take this even further than what I'm going to give you now, but it will get too involved, and if you read some of my books you'll see how important the number 777. In my book, these 7 crowned letters, which were in the Torah scroll, the Sefer Torah it's called, there are 7 crowned letters, and they are connected to the number 777. So we'll look at COVID, back to black. COVID has a placement value of 53. Oh, no, placement value. Let's try again. Placement value. No. And it has a normal value of 476 NV. And if I add those together, I get 529. I call that the total value, for historical reasons as well, because that's another thing that I discovered before I started putting 3 and 4 of them together. So there's another 2 we missed out, and they're what we call the outer shell of these gematrias, because they are the next extension. So the extension of the placement value is the large value, and the large value is 388, as we've had before, which was sphere. And the extension of the normal value is the normal inner value, where we take the normal values and we extend them, the placement value of each of those numbers. So for example, V is 400, therefore the normal value, so I take the word 400, and the word 400 is 134. So I use those, they're called the normal inner value, and I've added these together. So I call this the outer shell part of COVID. This is the normal inner values. And if I add those, I get 777. And that's a very powerful number for many reasons. The placement value of 777 is 333, and there's no other combination like that. If you take 666, 444, whatever, you do not find the placement value to be another three-figured number, a triple three-figured number. But this gives you 333, which is another triple number. And those numbers are linked. You find it in the Bible, the number 7 and number 3 linked together quite often. For example, when somebody was what they called tumemate, they were impure by touching a dead body, they had to be sprinkled with the ashes of the red heifer, and it had to be done on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. If they didn't do it on the 3rd day, the 7th day didn't help. We see a connection between the Sabbath day, which is the 7th day, and the 3rd day of creation. Well, the 3rd day of creation was very special because on it God says it was good twice, and therefore the 3rd day is an extra powerful day. And then you've got the Sabbath day, which of course is good. God doesn't have to say it's good. It was the completion of the creation. So, and there are other places where we find 3 and 7. So now, if I take the word 500, and I do this in my book of the 7 letters with the crowns on, because the 7 letters with the crowns on, those letters add up to 529. And the crowns are called Zionim. They're called Zions because they're like that on top of the letter. These 7 letters, one of the letters is called a shin, but they're written on top of the letters of the I'm not doing this very well. This is the shin, but there's a Zion, and there's a Tuf, and there's an Ayin. So they have these. When the scribe writes them, he does the little tiny Zions at the top. And as the letter Zion is 7, so you've got 7, you've got 3 of them, you've got 7, 7, 7. And the letters cut up to 529, these 7 letters. So maybe I'll talk more about that on another occasion. You'll find that book on my website, the Mystery of the 7 Crowned Letters it's called. So 529 equals 248. That's the placement value. What's interesting now is if I add the soul value to its body value, I will get, if I can do it this way, I'll get 777. In other words, this has as its soul and body value its outer crust, so to say. So this shows how powerful the coronavirus really is. In gematria terms, it is a very powerful virus, and that's why it's causing a lot of havoc. No, I did that wrong actually. No, I did that wrong. Go and correct myself on that. It's not that I don't take that. Sorry. I don't know what made me think that. No, what was this? A different thing entirely, really. It's that 529 is a square number. It's 13 squared. Okay? And if I take the word 13 squared, okay, so it's not really the soul value, but this is the square value. I do this quite often with square numbers. 13 squared equals 248. And then if I add it to itself, I'll get 777, so it's 13 squared. Now, just a little bit more. The word corona, let's see where that comes from. The word corona actually comes from a Hebrew word. It comes from the word keren, as does the word crown. So keren in Hebrew is kuf resh nun. It's used with Moses, Moshe in Hebrew, when Moses comes down the Mount Sinai. He has this rays of beams coming from his face. This is coming down actually after the 3rd time it came down. But he comes down with the 2nd tablets of stone. He's already broken the 1st set. He brings down the 2nd lot, and his face is beaming. So they're called karne or, they're called beams of his flesh. They are beams of light. So the word keren is the root of corona. I'll write what keren is in English letters. Keren, that's usually spelled like that. If I put it with a C, so C is usually S. so we use a K to give it the Keren, because that's what that is, as a Ker. And that is linked to the word crown. Again, we've got the same consonants, corona, crown, and you've got corona, which has disappeared. Corona. So I've got corona. Now, crown is, in Hebrew, keter. So we don't actually use keren as it means a horn or a beam. But the Hebrew word for crown, one of them anyway, there's a terror, but this is keter, is the usual word for crown. And it has a placement value of 53. That's its placement value. That's 11, 22, and 20. If you look up in the charts in my books, they give you charts. You can just write the alphabet, the Hebrew letters, put 1 to 22, and you'll see that keter is 53, which we've seen is corona. So corona is 50. No, not corona. COVID. Right? COVID is 53, and crown keter is 53. So we have a link there to its name. Corona, COVID, linked to corona. Another one. So let's have a look again a little bit more about this Keren. This Keren was a beam of light. Let's rub this off now. So Keren has a normal value, that's 100, that's 200, and that's 50 in Hebrew. So altogether I get 350. If we take, that's the normal value. If I take light and I work out its large value, the large value of light is 350. That's LV. So we can see this connection between light and the Keren, the lights coming out of Moses was Keren. Now, if I take the normal inner value, I get 388. That's the normal inner value, and we had that for sphere, and we had that for coved, the large value of coved, and the large value of sphere. So we see how this is all connected to light, and this may be another way of healing the coronavirus. It might be that we need to make it, I can't say that it's going to be darkness, the opposite, because it would seem that corona goes into your lungs and it's pretty dark there. So, but maybe through some sort of light radiation, it might kill the coronavirus. Maybe a vibration or some frequency. So, is that it? No, just a little bit more. Okay. So, we're going to see this. So, we've got light equaling 388. And we're going to find out what is 388. 388. What does that equal to? 388 equals 272 in the placement value. I don't like using the other systems on big sentences and things like that. It takes a lot of time, but it seems that the placement value is the most important of all the values. I have more connections using the placement value than anything else. So 300, oh dear, missed out a word. 188. Probably being dyslexic, at least slightly dyslexic, so I get things messed out. So if I work out now what 388, and I'm going to find that's the body value plus the soul value, put them together, I get 660. I call it usually soul and body, or body and soul value, doesn't really matter. But SBV. So 366. Now, if I take the word light and I work out, what am I missing here? I've got the large value, no, large value, I haven't got the placement value. The placement value is 56. That's the PV. And I'm missing the normal value, and I'm going to take that one out, because that's the one we've got down there. and 388. So all the ones besides that one, the large value is 254. Not large, the normal value. Placement value 56, large value 350, normal value 254. If I add those together, I will get 0, 16, 6. So in other words, I'm going to add that together, gives me the whole value. So it's WNV value, the whole and the normal value. That gives me 666. So I see this is an interrelationship between light. Light equals 288. Its soul and body value is 660. And light also has a connection to 660 in a second way. There's two ways with light. That's really got little to do with the coronavirus, but I thought I'd show you the power of light. And there's other things about light which are quite amazing. That's another subject. We know light is amazing thing as it is. Without it we wouldn't be here. So that is the end of the story of the coronavirus as I've researched up to this time. There might be more to come, and if you want to know more, I'll probably put it onto my Facebook page called World Discoveries. You're welcome to join that page. I usually use it as a little bit of a blog, put a few gematras on it from time to time. I'm on Twitter as well, but I don't tend to use that too often. So, until next time, wish you all good and well, and you should keep yourself fit and healthy by increasing good food in your system and getting rid of the poisons. So make sure that you're well, and I'm going to do the same. Have a good week. Be well.